Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Blinkers Off, and welcome back to the Magic and I show. That's right, Magic is here this weekend, filling in for Jared just one more week. Mr. Kalleward, Curtis Kalleward. Yeah, how are you doing today, sir?
We've only known each other for 9 years. I'm glad you could get my name. 8 years. Don't want to shortchange. 8 years there. Yeah, no, it's great. Thanks for having me back on. Jared's still on vacation, so we're gonna try to talk about turf racing. Maybe? Question mark.
This could be a giant waste of time. I will just preference that right now. So if you kind of have not heard, the weather is going to be pretty shaky up at Saratoga this weekend. And most of the big races at Saratoga and at Colonial Downs that we'll talk about as well. With the hurricane that's kind of moving up the coast, it could get bad. And what makes it even worse is last week, Magic, we had 2 races cancel at Saratoga on a day that didn't look all that bad. So this weekend is kind of bleak, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about. Like, we should be thrilled for this weekend because you've got this incredible turf card at Colonial Downs where they have one of the best turf courses in the country. So it's nice to see the Arlington Million being run on an actual legitimate turf course again. And I agree, Shotty. It's never a waste of time when we hang out. It's just the handicapping aspect of it's going to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
But then you've got the Fourstardave. We have 2 Breeders' Cup winning urine races scheduled for this weekend. And we might not get to run either one of them because of the hurricane, it's very unfortunate. You can't control the weather. There's a part of me that feels like this is a little bit of karma for NYRA. Not just for how they've treated the horse players. Like, NYRA's whole thing is like when they've had these disputes with the ADWs has been, we're trying to put out the best product possible. We're trying to do what's right for the program and for NYRA. And it's like, then you go ahead and you pull the shit that you pulled last Saturday, eat a dick. And then on top of that, I still remember in 2019 when Santa Anita we had really bad rain in California and we had all those bad breakdowns on the track at Santa Anita. And then after that, they were proactively canceling races if they thought it was not going to be good to run on either dirt or turf because of any kind of inclement weather. And there were people, including our own Saratoga Slim, who got all snobby and snooty and were like, this game isn't played inside, it's played outside. You guys are a bunch of pussies. And nah, 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 nah. Well, this is the second straight year where Saratoga and NYRA have been hit with some bad weather, and y'all dropped the ball big time. So karma times 2 is a bitch. That's my statement.
So last weekend was the Whitney, which was their second biggest day of the year. And in a lot of ways, almost one of my, I don't know. It's hard to beat the Travers, but one of my favorite days of the whole year, forget about Saratoga, just in general. And it's like you said, what they did just totally ruined everything. And it ruined everybody's like excitement. And I get that it was a tough situation. And maybe that turf course was just in really bad shape and out of safety. They didn't run on them, and that's fine. Weirdly enough, we ran on it on Sunday. We were running maiden claimers over it. So I will just say something odd happened Saturday. I don't know what it was. And it would be unfair for me to criticize or anything. But the bottom line is you can't just 20 minutes before post cancel races. You either have to make that hard decision at 8 a.m. and try to work it out, or you just say, hey, they're coming off and it's too late. Because when you do that, I mean, you really ruin people that like to play, and most people want to play the pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s, whatever. You ruin the whole back half of the card. And now races around the Whitney, you couldn't play multis, so it was just not great at all. So unfortunately that happened. And now, like you said, I don't know what they'll do. My bet, as we're going to talk about these races here in a second, my bet is you might just hit pause and fast forward a week, and then you'll hear what we had to say about them. I don't think they'll run them. Do you?
So if you're not aware, Colonial Downs already preemptively rescheduled Thursday and Friday's races for Monday and Tuesday next week. Saturday, they're making the decision this afternoon as we record on Wednesday. They're trying their best to be hopeful about it. I'm leaning towards they don't do it, just the way that it sounds with the rain that's going to keep happening, that even if they maybe could run, I know they've got a couple of dirt stakes races scheduled as well. They could run those, but this is the biggest day of the year for Colonial Downs, without a doubt. And they need to protect it. They need to, from a betting standpoint, like the money that gets bet on the races, the track gets a cut of every single bet before anybody else gets paid. And so for their biggest day of the year, they need to protect the revenue, maximize that as much as they can. So I would lean to them not running it as well. It's a shitty situation. I do feel bad for Colonial Downs. I don't feel bad for Naira, but Colonial Downs, I do feel really bad for them and for, the horsemen and horsewomen that try very hard to put on a great show there.
Yeah. And also, Shadi she said she was not refunded because so what happened was Shadi was at a convention, right? And a lot of people are like this. Hey, a lot of people don't sit there all damn day, race after race. They put their wagers in, and say she put it in 30 minutes before post time when the races were supposed to be run that day. You don't think they're going to get canceled. And anyway, and so she put it in, but she didn't get refunded until after all the races were over. So I'm not saying this was Shadi's situation, but let's say somebody's situation was, I put most of the money that I had in that account on those races. I don't get refunded till after, then I couldn't bet the races earlier. That maybe I'm going to switch and I'm going to bet the early races now. That's a disaster too. As soon as those things were canceled, all the bets should have been refunded. And that was a situation I heard a lot of people had. So it was a disaster. But again, it seems like every week on the show, we sit here and talk about disasters in horse racing, but they just keep happening, Magic. So anyway, let's forget about it and let's go on to handicap races that probably won't happen. So, all right, guys, let's kick it off today. Today, we are going to talk about stakes racing at Saratoga, and then we'll go talk about the Arlington Million at Colonial Downs. Let's start at Saratoga, Magic. Let's start race 6 on the card. It is the Saratoga Derby. And we're going to go 1 mile and 3/16 grade 1 event here, $600,000. We have a field of 8. Let's assume we're going to run and the turf is wet, and we'll just stick with that, Magic. So, all right, kick us off. Who are you going with here in the Saratoga Derby?
So this is a difficult one too, because 3 of the horses in here are cross-centered in the Secretariat at Colonial Downs, and you don't know when they're going to decide if they run both races. Who's going to go where? We don't know about that. It's just such a shit show. My goodness. Mm-hmm. It's hard to go against Charlie Appleby at either track. If the horses run, it's going to be so hard to go against them. I am sad that Aidan O'Brien didn't keep Diego Velasquez here. He was entered. He actually was the favorite on the morning line in the Saratoga Derby last week. He's one of 2 horses that did not return back in this field here. Chad Brown had the other one, right? White Palomino. White Palomino is going to wait and run at Kentucky Downs.
Correct.
In a little bit. All that to say, yeah, Legend of Time, top pick for me in this race, was the top pick for me when Diego Velasquez was going to run in the Saratoga Derby last week. So I think that I was going to be 3 deep in the Saratoga Derby. It was Legend of Time, Diego Velasquez, White Palomino. You take out the 2 that I was going to use, and I'm left with Legend of Time. William Buick was going to ride last week. He's going to potentially be at Colonial Downs instead this weekend. And you get, Flavien Prat. It's like Charlie Appleby's found the one guy he can trust in America, that if Buick doesn't come over, we'll just call Prat. Prat, we know, can handle this just as well as anybody. So, yeah, Legend of Time for me. Won the Pennine Ridge 2 starts back. The Belmont Derby was tricky because it was only a 5-horse field. There was no pace, and he got bottled up inside. And yeah, he finished 3rd. He got beat by Trickery, who's back here, White Palomino, who's not. But I think it's a better setup for him here. As long as 8 horses run here, I think Legend of Time will have more than enough pace to get the job done and win first grade 1 win for him in his career.
Yeah, I feel like Legend of Time's the one to beat as well. And I think, he has some wins over a good turf course. And oddly enough, he ran 5 times. Well, of course, 3 of them were at Maidan, but he did run at Newmarket a couple times, and it was firm both times. Usually these European horses, you'll see soft form on the surf or on the past performances. You don't really see it, but you do see the good track. And like I said, he has a couple 3 wins over a quote unquote good track. So yeah, I mean, I think he'll be fine. European breeding, he should be okay if the track, if they run the race and if the track is that way. I think First World War is very interesting as well. He's one that was not entered last week, who is entered this week. He also is entered at Colonial. Who knows where he's going to be, if he's going to be anywhere. But I thought he was, 2 races back in the Penn Mile. I thought that was a really, really nice effort from him, Magic. I was pretty impressed. And then last time out in the American Derby, I mean, he ran an okay race. He got second, beaten 2 1/4, but I thought he was pretty solid in there. He's another one. Look, I mean, you don't see a lot of, you don't see hardly any good or soft turf courses or yielding. But you do see some dirt form, Magic, and you know about this because you drafted him for those dirt races. Look, if it comes off, this is probably him and Deterministic become the play. So kind of keep First World War and Deterministic in your mind if this race comes off. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go number 1, Legend of Time as well. I think he is the one that just logically makes the most sense. And I'm kind of with you. He did last week as well. He made a lot of sense, and it's easier this week for me. All right, let's keep going and let's go to a dirt race. And that's good to see, because if we do have the dirt racing, we're not going to have an off the turf spot here, obviously. Saratoga race 8 on the card. It's the Saratoga Special Grade 2 event here, 6.5 furlong, $200,000. Field of 9 here for the 2-year-olds. All right, Magic, who you like here?
So Godolphin has their main trainers, right? Charlie Appleby is the guy internationally. Usually Brad Cox gets the ones locally that are the best ones. When Owen Hardy, and there's no shade on Owen Hardy, he's a good trainer, but he usually gets the B horses, C horses from Godolphin. When he has a horse on debut that goes off as the favorite in a field of 10 and wins the way First Resort did, and did so in the mud, I'm very willing to play the horse back. His Damn Fair Maiden was a stakes winner, almost won the Grade 1 Natalma. Abscond was the winner of that race, but she was a neck behind. Abscond did win the Grade 1 La Brea as a 3-year-old, so got that classic Godolphin blue blood breeding. I think First Resort is going to be very, very tough here, because now we're upgrading from Rafael Bayron, who's a great rider, but we're getting Flavian Pratt aboard in the Godolphin blue. It's going to be all about Pratt and Godolphin blue for me Saturday at Saratoga.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I had that horse in second. I kind of think it's a 2-horse race between the one you just mentioned and the number 5 Touchy. I am ready to play this horse back. Oddly enough, and when you think about 2-year-olds and Wesley Ward, you think about maiden special weights where the horse just dominates. This horse skipped the maiden special weights for the first start and ran in a stakes race. If you remember, he ran in the Tremont Stakes at Saratoga. That was Belmont at Saratoga weekend up there. And he ran second, got beat a length and 3/4, was kind of had the lead, raced a little bit greenly. And now, in my opinion, off that effort, you drop him into a maiden special weight here at Saratoga where they run for 100,000. I think this horse would be 3 to 5 in one of those races off of that kind of form. Now, whether the horse wins or not, there's monsters in there. You never really know with those maiden special weights. But instead, we come up and we run the Saratoga Special for 200,000. So it is double the purse, and it's a Grade 2. I think they're just wanting that black type on the resume. But I think what it all means is they're very confident in this horse. They still think, even though he did lose that stakes race at 4 to 5, they think he can jump up and run a big one here, and they're still confident in him. He has a nice work over the track. They shipped him up here to run in this race. Obviously, got him a work over the track. I really like number 5 Touchy. I'm going to give him another shot here. Like I said, I just think you could spot, especially with Wesley Ward, you could spot him nearly anywhere. He's everywhere. Talking about Wesley Ward, to spot him here tells me he still thinks this horse is pretty darn good. Really good breeding on this one as well. Should like the slop. If it does come up sloppy, I think he'll be okay as well on that. So, and you kind of mentioned your 4-horse. Hey, he's got that muddy track form already. So, if they do run this race and it is sloppy or muddy, should be fine. So 4 and 5, I agree. 4 for you, 5 for me. I think those are the 2 to beat. Anybody else you want to talk about before we move on?
Thanks for asking. I was going to ask you your thoughts on Keep It Easy. I remember watching him break his maiden and second start for Dale Romans, and he did no running on debut, which you can always be forgiving of. Conquering Cat won that race. Our good friend Nick Sievers is a co-owner of Conquering Cat, a horse that I think once he gets the fact that he won at 5.5 when he looks like a 2-turn horse to me, I think was impressive. But Keep It Easy wins at 23-1. He was a big long shot in that field. You had a $1.2 million horse that was even money that did no running. Normandy Coast was fourth in that race. He is one of 2 horses that have run back since out of that race, and he broke his maiden in his second start with an improving Beyer speed figure. But it's hard for me to play. We don't know what the odds are yet. I'm going to guess this probably is your third choice because that Beyer speed figure was so high for that win last time out at Churchill Downs. I don't want to play this horse at short odds, but I think the way he broke his maiden was impressive because second and third place early, he kicked clear of them. It was closers that came in well behind him for second and third. So what were your thoughts on Keep It Easy?
I looked at that horse for a long time, and yeah, I'm with you. Like the Dale Romans debut, yeah, whatever. In that next start is usually when they show who they are, and it was a really good effort. And yeah, look, I don't ever know what to do with Dale and his horses. I'll just be completely honest. I'm usually not on the right side of them. Very seldom. Obviously that last race was super good. And I think drawing the outside is going to be to his benefit because if he can outbreak everybody and get to the front, go ahead and do that. But if he can't, he kind of has all those horses to his inside and he can kind of gauge on, okay, where do I need to sit? Where do I need to land in this race? So I had him third. I thought that race last time out was super good. And like I said, you just draw a line through the debut. That was what it was. And another one, with 2-year-olds, you do kind of want to look at the workout pattern to see kind of how they're doing. And this horse has really been working well up there. So it's probably a Dale Romans 2-year-old that can run. That's what I would say. And look, they come around. He doesn't have a ton, but they do come around. So anybody else?
Well, the breeding on that one's interesting too, because the damn Boxwood, she was like the rare English channel that was precocious. She won her second career start, but being by English channel, she did her best running on the turf and at 2 turns. So I'll be really curious to see ultimately what they do with Keep It Easy. I would expect that Romans is going to try and put this horse on the turf. If not at this meet, maybe at Keeneland, maybe you target a race like the Jessamine. No, that's for fillies and mares. What's the males race? The Bourbon. Target a race like the Bourbon at Keeneland, I think would be an issue. As long as Keep It Easy keeps, hell, even if he's not progressing, Romans will still try it. So I think Keep It Easy will ultimately be better on the turf, and I think he's going to get over bet here because of that 79 Beyer. But if he wins, because of that way he looked in that second race, I don't think it'd be a shocker to us.
Okay, this is me with no information, just totally throwing shit out there and seeing if it sticks, right? I think they'll try here. And then I think he'll get him into 2 turns in the Iroquois at Churchill, which is opening weekend, I think, at Churchill, that kind of in between meet. And then I bet if he doesn't do well in those 2 starts, he will do exactly what you said. And if he does do well, he'll go to the Futurity on the dirt. I think he'll keep him on the dirt until the horse absolutely says no.
And then we go to Gulfstream and we go win the Kittens Joy Stakes. That's what happens.
Yeah, I mean that is very possible, right? But I think the biggest thing you said turf pedigree for sure, but it also is a distance pedigree, hard spun out, like you said, out of that English Channel mare. He's got to be thinking I don't know what he's thinking, but you got to be thinking with that kind of pedigree, hey, when this horse stretches out, he might be pretty darn good. So I would keep an eye, even if he doesn't run well here, keep an eye for those 2 aspects. What Magic said, turf, if that ever happens, or going longer. Just keep this horse in mind. We're talking about the number 9, Keep It Easy. All right, let's keep going here. And we will now go to the Troy Stakes. And this is another one. Like the Saratoga Derby was supposed to be last weekend and was not. Now we're back this weekend. And so the Troy, obviously a grade 2 event, going 5.5 on the turf here, $300,000. It's a field of 11. We do have 2 MTOs. By the way, you had MTOs last week and you canceled it. Why do you take MTOs if you're not going to run it on the main track? Anyway, another story for another day. All right, it's the return of Cogburn again, which could get delayed again. But Magic, who do you like in this one?
I mean, the 2 horses I used last week are going to be the same 2 I use. That's Cogburn and Groom's All Business. But I want to take this moment to talk about another Dale Romans horse, actually. Not this time. find me a better sire in the last 2 decades, decade and a half. I mean, if you think about it, he's got the world record holder 5.5 furlongs on the turf in Cogburn. He has he's sired Epicenter. He sired Up to the Mark, who is one of the best turf milers we had in America last year. He had Arzak, Sibelius, winner of the Gold Shaheen, and Next, who is just like Next could probably finish in top 2 or 3 in the Breeders' Cup Classic right now. Maybe even win. It wouldn't shock us. It doesn't matter. Short, long, turf, dirt, synthetic. Like, Not This Time is like, it's a game-changing sire. It's incredible what he's been able to do. Anyways, Cogburn's the top pick for me in here. No surprise. If they run this on soft turf, guess what? He won this race last year on soft turf. Beat a horse named No Balls, who came back and won the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. The only loss that he had last year on turf that he's ever had was to Gear Jockey, and that was at Kentucky Downs, which is a weird track, and Gear Jockey, one of those horses that does well at Kentucky Downs, and he lost by less than a length. So I don't see a world, unless he breaks like shit or gets beat up out of the gate, where Cogburn loses this race.
Yeah, you stole the Not This Time thunder. I'll just add to it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was going to say it, but I'm glad you laid it out. I don't know if we can describe how rare it is to have a 5.5 furlong on the turf North American Sprint record holder and a marathon dirt horse out of the same sire. I mean, that is incredible what he's been able to do. Also, he just had a colt sell for $3.4 million at the Saratoga sale. So, just incredible what has happened here with Not This Time. And and listen, my buddy's got a Not This Time talking about Ain't Life Grand, who's by Not This Time, and he said that's the best horse I've ever trained right there, and he's an Iowa bred. So it's just incredible what he's been able to do. And trust me, his horses are gorgeous. I've pet Ain't Life Grand a million times. He's the prettiest horse I've ever seen. All right, let's go to this though. Listen, I don't have to keep gushing over Cogburn like I have for weeks. It was the best turf sprint performance I've ever seen in my life in person when he won the Jaipur. I know I texted you immediately and I said, I'm not sure if that's not one of the top 3 or 4 performances ever that I've seen in person. I can remember him blazing, and then I was very, very nervous because I had him to win. And it's like, man, he might be going too fast. And they asked that horse to go, and he just took off again in the top of the stretch. I was like, man, that was breathtaking. So I'm definitely not going to go against him here. And you said it. I said it last week. I was like, listen, if it's soft turf, that's great. He was able to beat a tough horse last time out on soft turf, and he was able to get the job done. And even if it's on the dirt, I'm pretty sure they would scratch him, but he's not a terrible dirt horse either. So if you remember, that's what they kind of started him out with. But anyway, yeah, it's all about Cogburn for me here. You mentioned Groom's All Business. I really like that horse. I've liked in the last 2 starts. To me, it's just a situation of, okay, we're really taking a big step up here. There's one thing running at Pimlico and Monmouth and in ungraded stakes races and doing it well and being very impressed by him both times. Don't get me wrong, but this is tougher. This is a much tougher situation for him, but I'm with you. I got him in second. I like that horse as well. If it does come off and they do actually run it, you've got Surveillance and you've got Disarmed. I think Disarm would be good, and he needs to drop down to this level maybe, but Disarmed ED, we'll see what happens with him. He might be tough in this one as well. Any other thoughts before we move on?
I think if you wanted to make a little money in this race, if you wanted to do an exacta, I think you could do Cogburn over Groom's All Business, and also a much better draw than last week for the 1-horse Witty, who is a half brother to Caravel. So you can see all the turf sprint success that he has. I don't think Witty is fast enough to beat either of those horses. In fact, 2 races back at Pimlico, he was second to Groom's All Business, but he was drawn in the parking lot last week. I didn't have any interest. I think Witty could hit the board and is probably going to be ignored because of the other bigger names that you have in here and the big buyer speed figures a lot of them represent. So that would be my exacta recommendation, would be Cogburn with Groom's All Business and Witty underneath.
Okay. Yep. I like it. Let's see what we can do. You got to create value around Cogburn one way or the other. You can go against him and hope that he bounces because that's the only way he's losing. Because if he runs that race back, they're not going to beat him. Or you can take him and then try to create value underneath or in multis. So that's what you got to do in situations like Cogburn. All right, let's go to the main event of the weekend at Saratoga. Perhaps, maybe, hopefully, that is the Fourstardave. We'll be going a mile here for this one. $500,000 versus another grade 1 field of 7. Although I've heard Master of Seas is going to scratch, so that'll leave a field of 6. That's what somebody told me. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll see what happens in this one. Field of 6, from what I've been told. Who do you like?
Well, I liked Master of the Seas. I hadn't heard that he would be an early scratch. Yes, that's true. David Aragona tweeted it out Monday. He's going to be an early scratch from the Fourstardave. Well, shit.
Person that told me works on the backside, so I pretty much thought it was, I thought it was common knowledge. I didn't know that yet. You didn't know yet, but yes, Master of Seas is scratch.
I thought that I had seen a tweet about it, and I honestly thought it was to do with talking about last week with the dates. I was a little off on the date. Anyways, so that leaves us. You still have Charlie Appleby Godolphin with Ottoman Fleet. Joel Rosario's named to ride the horse right now. I'm going to try and beat Ottoman Fleet. I respect Ottoman Fleet and what he's done. Call me a sucker. I'm going back to Carl Spackler. I loved this horse when he was early in his 3-year-old campaign, and then the American Turf, the wheels fell off, but he came back and has run exceptionally well since then. Only one poor race, really only one defeat since May of last year, and that was in the Poker Stakes, where Ice Chocolat and Mysterious Night just destroyed that field. Talk of the Nation was a good third. Came back and won the Kelso last time out, but I think that this horse is, the fact that he's 3 for 4 at Saratoga goes into his corner. Those wins coming in a mile on the 16th, winning the Kelso last out. This is the time to catch him at a little bit of a price, because I think with the scratch of Master of the Seas, Ottoman Fleet, the deserving favorite, more than looks a very good horse last year, a good 6th in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. I think him making his return is going to take money. So assuming Carl Spackler is going to be the third choice in this race, I'm going to go with Carl Spackler for a bit of an upset.
Ooh, Carl Spackler for an upset for Magic there. Yeah, I was kind of looking at through his form there, and he's got 2 races on good turf. Both came at Saratoga, both won. So I'm with you. I'm going to go number 4, Carl Spackler as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to go with him. I listen, I think the poker, whatever happened. He just didn't run very well, but his other races have been really good. I mean, when he shows up with a big race, he's tough to beat. And you kind of look at it. Yeah, Ottoman Fleet, never been this distance before. We'll see what happens with him going a mile. He has been pretty good at a mile and 16th. I will say that. But at a mile, you just don't know. And also I don't know, maybe Flavian Pratt's going to jump on this horse now, because he was on Master of the Seas. I bet he switches to this one. So that would help. But yeah, I think Carl Spackler in form, likes the distance. I feel pretty good about him in this one. So I'm going to go number 4, Carl Spackler as well. I respect Ottoman Fleet more than looks. You mentioned it. Really nice horse. But guess what? Carl Spackler beat more than looks 3 races back. So that kind of shows you right here over this turf course at this distance as well. I thought more than looks was like going to be 3-5 in the race last week. It was a much easier race, and that's a killer, because I think that horse would have dominated there. But here, much tougher for sure. But especially with Master Seas out,
he was going to be in the, for people who don't know, he was entered in the Fasig-Tipton Lure Stakes, which is restricted to horses that have not won a graded stakes in 2024. And we haven't seen the horse since the Breeders' Cup Mile last year, but I'm with you. More than looks was going to be heavily odds on in that big return. And I think Cherie DeVos very not happy that she couldn't bring him back in a softer spot. The Fourstardave, even without Master of the Seas, it's going to be a tough ask for him.
Yeah, it definitely will be a very tough ask. But this horse is pretty darn good. There's no doubt about it. A couple of questions here. What's spot like today? Is it fast and firm? No, it's off the turf and sloppy. There, or muddy, I should say there. Anyone know why Master of the Seas? Anyone know why Master of the Seas was scratched here? I think it was because of the weather. But Applebee's smarter than Naira, which is not a shocker there, but yeah. Hi Ryan, thanks for tuning in. I was talking with Ryan earlier today on Twitter. So okay, well there you go.
Nice to see him pop in. Ryan is one of the interns at Del Mar for their summer meet program. He was on with Frank Scattoni We know Frank. Frank's a good friend. He was on with Frank Scatoni
goodness.
doing the handicapping seminar last weekend.
I love Frank. I can't talk today. I love Scatoni. He is the nicest of the nice. And since Ryan was on with him, I don't know Ryan, but hey, I like you too now because that's awesome.
We like people named Ryan. People named Ryan are good, right?
I do have a lot of Ryan friends, and maybe this Ryan is another one. Who knows? But nice. Yeah, that intern program at Del Mar is kind of cool. You get to hang up in the press box all day. Well, I don't know. They're probably doing work.
They do more than that. Yeah,
okay.
They don't. There's 1 week where they do that, and then the rest of the time they're on the backside.
Oh shit! Well, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Racing office, racing. The whole point of the program is to learn all aspects of running the racetrack. So you're like the scales, you're the clerk of scales, you're with the racing office, you're with food and beverage, like hospitality, like you're all over the place at Del Mar.
Well, that is really cool. I did not know that. I just assumed way back in the day, Magic and I would just sit and just mess around in the press boxes.
Dick around. You can say we dicked around a lot. We'd eat the ice cream
we would eat the ice cream, and we snuck in alcohol, and we were drinking it. You remember we bought those little
Boy, I blew your damn mind with that one. We stopped at the liquor store at 9 a.m. on the way to the track, and we got a bunch of the mini bottles. And I was like, no, just put them in your backpack. When we get there, just pour it into your soda. And yeah, that's the only way you can drink for less than $20 a kick at Del Mar is by bringing in your own mini bottle. Not that we would recommend doing that officially.
So what happened? What at Del Mar at the press? Nobody cares about this, but at the press box, you can go right across, and there's ice cream, and I think they've got other stuff, and then they've got like the soda machines, and it's free to the press, right? So Magic stops and he gets those little bottles. Like, why are you doing this? He's like, well, just put them in our backpack. We'll go across and get soda or something, and then we'll pour them in. It's like, brilliant. So by the 5th race, we're up there drunk and acting crazy. And we hung out. Why I'm saying this is because Ryan, the intern at Del Mar, we hung out with the interns up there that day because we didn't want to go over with the actual press. And so
yeah,
that was such a fun day for us. Anyway,
it was a good time. We were not interns. We weren't interns there, but
no, but we acted like we were.
We made the interns look like professionals that day.
I didn't know what they were. I thought they were just employees. Like they were young kids, you know. And I was like, these guys, great.
We weren't drinking at 9 a.m. It was 9 a.m. when we left for the track, and we went to the liquor store to buy it. We waited till like 10:30, 11 to start drinking. Crazy.
I was waiting for the punchline. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's probably more relevant than what we're talking about today at the end of the day. But that was a moment in time that I will never forget. That was a lot of fun. Lots of fun. And look, it showed me that day that Magic's smarter than me because I didn't think of that. But or he's sneakier than me, maybe.
I there you go. I will tell you that I used to also do that on airplanes, and then I got caught doing it on an airplane once, and I was told that it's a federal violation to do that. And the stewardess said, if I see you doing it again, I have to report you. So don't do that on an airplane. Absolutely don't. Or if you do, like go to the liquor stores like in the terminals, and then like go into the bathroom or something like that and mix your drinks that way. Don't let anybody see you because that is a big federal offense.
Interesting. So you can't actually open it on the airplane.
Right. You have to have purchased it from them on the airplane.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. So if you bought it, because there's liquor stores there, you buy it and mix them. Yeah. Before you go. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Thanks. I'm flying tomorrow. So I'm taking notes right now. So.
Oh, you're going to Washington. That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Was this weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We got major racing to talk about first.
Major racing that will not happen. Let's keep going.
All right, yeah, let's keep it. By the way, Magic loves the ice cream at Del Mar, yet he's lactose intolerant, and so that's a thing. All right, let's keep going here. I didn't pull this up. I'm going to pull this up now. Colonial Downs here. Yeah, it was a fun night. All right, Colonial Downs. We're going to talk about the Arlington Million. We were going to talk about other ones, but I really believe they're going to cancel these for sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just really believe that just by the way they've kind of talked, it seems that way. So Colonial Downs, we're going to go to, let's see what race that race 11 on the card here. It is the Arlington Million, 1.25 mile grade 1 event, field of 6. Okay. Magic. Who you like here? Magic's muted.
I thought I muted myself. Sorry.
It's been so long since you've done that. That kind of hit me in the heart. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank God I have zero control over audio on FanDuel TV is all I'll say. Thank you, Pedlo. For me, I mean, it's Nation's Pride. It's going to be sub-even money, but William Buick is named to ride. If he comes over to ride Nation's Pride, should be a clear-cut winner of this race. The fact that he lost the Man of War Stakes, Silver Knot won that race. If you go back and watch it, Frankie Dettori is one of the greatest riders ever. Flavien Prat schooled his ass that day. If you go back and watch the replay of that, Flavien Prat absolutely schooled him with Silver Knot to beat Nation's Pride. Last time out in the Manhattan Stakes, he had a good run, just couldn't get up for past second place there. But to me, this is an easier field. The biggest threat looks like it's probably going to be the other European invader, Ancient Rome. But I think this is just a preview or a prep race for Ancient Rome to go back to Kentucky Downs, won the Mint Millions there last year. That race is worth a lot more than $1 million now, so I'm pretty sure he's going to come back to that as well. So, I think Ancient Rome is the most likely defeater of Nation's Pride, but for me, it's all about the Godolphin Blue.
Yeah, I think this is an easy handicap for me. If Nation's Pride runs back to that Manhattan, he's winning. I really, truly believe that. Measured Time, if you remember who won the Manhattan, who beat Nation's Pride, that was a damn good horse who put on like a freaky performance. But the Nation's Pride, very good to run second in there and beat some nice horses to run second. Totally agree. Ancient Rome is the other one that I would think about hard in this one. I think it's going to be a 2-horse race between the 2 and the 4. I want to talk about this because we talked about it last time. I do not like number 1 Integration in here at all. I know you're going to look at that past performance and say, well, he won the last race by 6 1/4 over soft ground. Why wouldn't you like him? If you didn't watch that, everybody scratched out. It was a 3-horse race. He looked like shit in that race. I know what the form says. I know what the number came back as. Magic, tell me I'm wrong. Because you were on air that day, I believe.
Yeah, and I was trying to beat him with 911 Turbo because I knew Integration would be that heavy favorite. And it was a 3-horse race, and he dawdled at the back, and Carmouche pushed go, and he should have beaten those horses by that amount. None of those horses are back here. You're now facing multiple graded group stakes winner in Ancient Rome. You're facing Segoy, who's been hot lately from Michael Maker. Nation's Pride is dominant. Highland Chief can run a huge race out of nowhere for Grand Motion. Talk of the Nation these are all much, much better horses than what he was going to face in the Million preview. So no, nothing to do with Integration for me.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I think the 2 and the 4 are much better horses. And yeah, man, I don't know. Listen, the other one I thought about for a minute was the 6 Talk of the Nation. I think it's interesting. This horse has been on the lead, just can't quite hold it going a mile, but against the tougher horses, just hasn't been able to hold it. Are they thinking, hey, let's get him out to 1.25 miles? He'll be way on the lead here. If he's on the lead at 1 mile, he's definitely going to be a lead 1.25 miles. Maybe it's longer, yeah, but maybe those kicks aren't quite as strong, and maybe he can get away from him. I would keep an eye on the 6 as well. I think the 6 Talk of the Nation is a very interesting horse. I kind of went 4-2-6 in the spot, so we'll see if Integration will just swoop us. Go ahead.
So yeah, no, I was gonna say same for me. 4-2-6. I don't think, especially with the breeding being by Quality Road, I don't know that 1.25 miles is possible. But if it was possible, it's going loose on the lead and just dawdling early fractions.
All right. Well, easy enough for me. All right, guys, that'll do it for the handicapping of the show. Usually, if you watch the show before, we take a lot more time, but for this show, I said, hey, let's, I don't want to sit here for an hour and a half for races aren't going to be run. We gave you picks. We gave you reasons, kind of kept it short and sweet. So why are we doing the show today, Magic? Well, I'm flying to Seattle tomorrow, not DC, but Washington State, going to Seattle. John White getting inducted into the Washington Racing Hall of Fame on Saturday. And Jared and I and Ryan Stillman, all three going to go up there and be with John. So we're going to a Mariners game Friday night. The Hall of Fame / racetrack is Saturday. And then the Long Acres Mile from Emerald Downs is Sunday. So we're going to go to those 3 things. Cannot wait, and really excited to be there for John's induction. So yeah, Magic, what do you think?
I'm extremely jealous. I'm extremely jealous by that. And you answered my question. I was going to ask if you're going to stay for Sunday because I know That's their biggest day of the year at Emerald Downs with the Long Acres Mile. But there's 4 stakes races, including, I love this name, the Muckleshoot Derby.
Well,
One
sure.
of the best named races in horse racing. The Muckleshoot Derby is going to be that one. So I'm not going to be able to cover those races because I've got the 9 a.m. Pacific time shift on Saturday and Sunday, but I will absolutely do my best to shout out John White again for a well-deserved honor. Hopefully the first of 2 Hall of Fame entries that he gets. We're going to start with Washington, go local, and then the push after that goes to the National Museum Racing Hall of Fame at Saratoga. I think he absolutely deserves a spot there as well.
Now, I'm not familiar with media members, or he's not. That's a thing. He was a morning line maker. He was a media member. He was a steward. What's the criteria to get into that for people that aren't trainers and jockeys or horses? I guess is what I'm trying to ask, because I absolutely think that should happen, but I don't know how it works really.
There is a media wing there. It's not. I don't think I don't think it's a big wing, but there is a wing there where they have for the media people. Your Joe Hirsch's, like the legendary people. And I think, yeah, John White, because we know him a lot. A lot of people know him as the morning line odds maker guru that he was, but he also for 2-3 decades was on writing articles. He had his weekly blog. He was on HRTV.
Yep.
Was that what it was called back in the day? So, and there's people that I work with now at FanDuel who, when I told them, I was like, oh yeah, I worked with John White, or I know John White. Can I just shout him out real quick on air? Like the producers and directors were like, absolutely. We know John. I worked with John 15 years ago. Greatest guy ever. Like everybody who's met John White has nothing but glowing things to say about him. So, yeah, it would be great to see him go into the media wing. Now, if they don't have a wing like that for him, build one, make one. We'll call it the John White wing of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and again, I don't know the details of that, but if there is something like that, he should be in it. You said it. People know him as the morning line maker recently, and the Express Bet column. But yeah, listen, he worked for the Daily Racing Forum for years and years and years. One of their head writers there, and at HRTV, he influenced my life on HRTV because that was the first thing I started watching when I got into it. My cable company could not get TVG at the time. It was called TVG. It didn't have it offered, so I couldn't get it. But you could get an online subscription to HRTV, and so I got that, and that's how I even figured out who he was. And for years, I listened to him on HRTV, and also the youngest steward in the history of horse racing, John White. So, I mean, there's a trailblazing path that he set. But the biggest thing he's done for the game, the 2 people on your screen right now, he's helped get to where they are. You can't even put it into words how much he's helped us. But when you get to talking to people, his branch of influence is massive. And Magic just laid it out. And you talk about Matt Dinnerman. Matt Dinnerman had said in an article once that John read, I would love to meet John White or go to dinner with John White, I think. And guess what happened? John knew a guy that knew Dinnerman. They got a hold of each other and they went to dinner together. That's how you are supposed to be. That's how you're supposed to act when you're in a position like John's, where people look up to you. People want to meet you. People want to pick your brain. I'm not going to call it a responsibility, but because it's not really, but that's how you grow the game. That's how you get people into racing. That's how you get people and help people with their careers. You don't try to blackball them. You don't try to do the other side of it. You try to do what John White does. And I mean, he is an incredible human being. And trust me, there's not everybody in racing is an incredible human being. John White's one of them. So just can't say enough kind things about him. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see him get honored. And I can't even imagine if he actually went into the big Hall of Fame there up at Saratoga, what we would do. I think that
might actually be enough to get me to visit Saratoga.
I think it would be a requirement, even though when they elect him, you probably won't be working for me anymore. It's still going to be required. It's going to be required for my friendship. We're done.
There we go.
You're not there.
So anyway. There is, it is called the Joe Hirsch Media Roll of Honor. And they started in 2010, but people who were in that include Stephen Christ, Red Smith, Jay Hovde, Andrew Beyer, Jenny Reese, who still works. Steve Haskin was part of the Blood Horse. Jim McKay, Jay Privman's in that. They just elected Dick Girardi got into it as well. So there's usually 2 or 3 people every year that get inducted. So let's start the campaign on August. You're going to be back on the 11th. So August 12th, we start the campaign. John White to the National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame.
I will say this. If he does not get in that, it's a crime, because that's no offense to the names you just listed. They're some of the greatest, right? Some aren't, but some are some of the greatest that, great guys and good follows and have done a lot for the game. John matches any of those people. So I would love to see that. And I would not be shocked if that happens, Magic. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I didn't know that existed, but that would be fun. So anyway, that's what we're doing Saturday. It's going to be, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be awesome. And I've never been to Seattle. Have you ever been to Seattle?
No. Let's see. The closest. No, I've been to Portland. That's the farthest northwest I've been.
Yeah.
I've heard it's beautiful and gorgeous there. I'd love to visit.
I don't know that I've been anywhere close to Seattle. I'm trying to think. I've been to like Yellowstone. I can't think of Seattle, anywhere close to Seattle. But anyway, and Emerald Downs looks beautiful. I'm pumped for Emerald Downs. And hopefully it's because here it's like 100 degrees. I'm thinking it's going to be like 80s. That'd be great as well. So
you get to breeze off the ocean because you're right there. Vancouver's just a hop, skip across the border. And can you name the famous TV show set in Seattle?
Frasier.
Hey, there we go. Thank you.
I knew the answer. Had to know it. Okay. Well, you got anything else for us, Magic? How's it going over at FanDuel? You doing okay?
It's great. Yeah, I'm off the next 3 days. I'll be back Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday, Tuesday. I can't remember. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'll be on the next 3 of that 3-day stretch. But it's going well. Covered the last 2 days with Jose Contreras. We always have a lot of fun covering races, and we give each other lots of shit back and forth about stuff, especially off air, which you don't see, which is it's a lot closer to what this show has kind of been when we're off air. So that's a good time. Jose is a tremendous handicapper. Still learn a lot from. But yeah, no, it's great. But I'll be 9 to 12:30 Saturday and Sunday Pacific time. So if you feel so inclined, tune in, and hopefully Dave Weaver and I can give out some winning picks for whatever tracks are running. We don't know.
All right, that sounds good. And one last question: what did you think of covering Goodwood? I know that was something you did harness, and then now you've done like the smaller tracks, and now you did early morning last weekend over at Goodwood. How did that go?
5:30 to 8. I was dead tired when I got done. I was on from 5:30 to 8:30 in the morning. I'd slept maybe 3 hours the night before, and I hate to take like a midday nap because I never feel fully recovered out of it. When I don't feel like back to my old self. I still feel sluggish the rest of the day. So I usually don't like taking a nap. Plus, I feel like I've wasted time that I could have been doing something else. So I came home and I took a 3.5-hour nap after that. I was just zonked out, but I had a lot of fun. Got to work with Jess Stafford, who's overseas covering races, and she is a brilliant person to work with as well. So that was fun. And got to see some great racing action. It's different if you've watched, like the Royal Ascot meet, it's just different over there compared to what we watched in America. And it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. I appreciated the experience. I did not appreciate my 3-year-old son having nightmares the night before, which is why I only got about 3 hours of sleep. Oh yeah. And this was cool too. We got to see Big Evs. Speaking of my toddler, it's his favorite horse. Big Evs, winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, is such a cool effing horse. I don't know if you know this, Aaron. After he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, the people who owned him were getting offers of 50% share in the millions, and they turned it all down. They said they must have gotten 30, 40 offers to buy 50% share in the horse, but the owners wanted to keep campaigning him their way. And they were like, we're never going to have a horse like this again. We just want to do what we want with him because he's ours. And I respect the hell out of them for making that decision and going that way with him. To turn down, if you owned a horse, like if I had, full ownership in Tiz a Magician, and someone after he breaks his maiden or something or wins a stakes race goes, here's $2 million for 50% of him. I'm getting divorced if I say no to that. Like I am finding myself out on the streets very quickly if I say no to that. So good on those people for being competitive and wanting to just keep running them themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's a great story. I did not know that, but that's a great story. I love that so much. Yeah. Martin says, who's winning the morning MLB game? I think the Diamondbacks are winning. I guess that's the one you're talking about, getting ready to start. About 20 minutes, I would take the Diamondbacks.
You want to? So we started this in the old. You said you want to do this in the old Dudes Who Bet Daily time slot, and I said, yeah, let's do that. Let's do a Dudes Who Bet Daily real quick.
Okay,
let's do it. You got to pick for the. Do you want to handicap the game real quick?
No, I've got the Diamondbacks. I okay. Like them. I like them almost every time they play right now. I think they're on a hot streak. But I'll give you another one, a plus money game. Okay. I really like the Red Sox today on the road against the Royals. That'll be tonight. Cutter Crawford on the mound against Cole Ragans, and I really think the Red Sox will get it done. They're hot. The Royals aren't playing bad. They do play well at home, but I think Cutter Crawford's gonna have a pretty good game. So give me the Red Sox plus. I think they were 125 last I checked. You got anything?
Well, I was looking more at the Diamondbacks Guardians. I appreciate that. For the Bo Sox, as far as I'm going to go over on the runs because Arizona's been putting them up in bunches, but now they've got Eduardo Rodriguez making his long-awaited debut in 2024. They signed him to an $80 million contract, and he hasn't played yet, and it's August. Like it's a hell of a way to make $20 million in a year. It's like, just don't play. But I think that they'll be on a pitch count with him, so I think it'll be relying on the bullpen, and the fact that they had to go to 10 innings on Monday, Arizona's bullpen is probably feeling a little tired. So I'll go for the over.
All right. Kevin B says, go walk to your neighbor, steal their safe, and bet it all on the Nationals, plus 140, taking on Blake Snell and the Giants. I'm guessing you're thinking Snell's going to bounce after that outing last week against the Reds. So we'll see what happens there. All right. That's it. We're done.
I had to bring it full circle there.
Yep, we're done. We're out of here. Okay, here's what's going on for real. Your guys' show will be tomorrow, Magic Mike. I'll let you talk. Before I go on, you're probably covering what, like Del Mar tomorrow?
Absolutely. I told Somich we're not going back to Saratoga again this year. No, not doing it.
That's maybe go for the Travers, but other than that, yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, fine.
So Magic Mike going to be covering Del Mar, so that's going to be awesome there. Papa Dude and I will be back. We will be back at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern, so an hour and 8 minutes. Papa Dude and I will be back, and because of what's happened at Saratoga, and like the last show we did, I think was a waste. No, last show was fine. Last week would have been a waste, so we didn't do it. This week, I think it might be a waste. College football preview starts today. So we'll be going through the Power Four conferences, looking at the win totals for every team in those Power Four conferences, college football. So we'll do college football show coming up in a little over an hour. It'll be Papa Dude and I. So excited for that. All right, we're going to get off here for now. Tune back in at 1 o'clock Central Time for Papa Dude and I. Tune back in tomorrow for Magic and Somich doing Del Mar. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day and good luck if they run the races and if you're betting them this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.